Hi, my name's Fiona York. I'm the Executive Officer of Housing for the Aged Action Group. We are a community organisation that's been advocating for housing justice for older people since the mid-80s. We were started by a group of older women and we have now grown to having 490 members. We run a specialist older person's housing service which is called Home at Last, and we house on average around 120 people a year in long-term and affordable housing. We also have a retirement housing service that provides advocacy and advice to residents of retirement housing. We're not a crisis service and most of our clients aren't rough sleepers. The majority of people who come to us have never accessed services before. They don't necessarily have overly complex needs, and around 60% of our clients are older women in their late 50s and early 60s, struggling in private rental, many who have worked all their lives in low-paid jobs, who suddenly find themselves unable to make the rent, relying on friends and family for a place to sleep. Older people are the fastest growing group facing homelessness, increasing at a faster rate than any other group. Over the last 10 years, while youth homelessness has been decreasing, rates of homelessness amongst older people have been increasing, and this isn't just due to the ageing population. As you're no doubt aware, this is particularly an issue for older women. Older women have had the biggest percentage increase in homelessness over the last 5 years, including a big jump in the number of older women aged 75 plus who are sleeping in their cars. And we know that this is just the tip of the iceberg because most older women have not previously interacted with the service system, and they adopt a range of coping mechanisms like cutting down on food and electricity or medication, and so going to a homelessness service is the last resort. As well as people who are counted as homeless, there are increasing numbers of older people who are at risk. Although the stereotype is that baby boomers all own their own home, that's just not the case anymore. More and more people are renting than ever before, and there's 182,000 people aged 65 plus renting in Victoria right now. And we know that renting is expensive and insecure. We know that in Victoria there are 12,000 lone single women households with at least one person over 65 in housing stress. We'll soon be releasing a report by the University of Adelaide that looks more closely at women who are at risk of homelessness in Australia, and it estimates that there are 130,000 women aged 45 plus and older who are at risk of homelessness in Victoria right now. I'd quickly like to tell you a story about one of our clients who came to us, and this is a very typical thing, the sort of thing that we see at HAAG all the time. So Anne is in her late 50s. She had a professional career most of her working life. However, she was made redundant at the age of 59 and she ended up on Newstart. She thought she'd be able to find a cheaper rent if she moved to the country, but she soon found out that she was really reliant on her car, which was expensive, and the rent wasn't that much cheaper anyway. She fell behind in her rent and she came to us when she was served a notice to vacate or an eviction notice for rent arrears. And this was the first time that she'd ever been in contact with a support agency, having managed her whole life to get by. Like many women her age, she had very little superannuation or savings, and so we were able to assist her to get into community housing where she's now thriving. And this story is really common. Older women who have spent their lives working, caring for children, caring for their elderly relatives, and then finding themselves all of a sudden in real trouble when they lose their income, their rent is increased, or they face another form of life shock. So what are we going to do about it? At HAAG, we take an early intervention and prevention approach that delivers community education to people at risk of homelessness before they hit the point of crisis. There are a range of affordable housing options available. They're just not that easy to find. And so we encourage older women to come to us before they reach the crisis point so that we can give them the information they need to be able to help them plan for their future. This could include low-cost retirement housing or public and community housing. So the message that we want to get across to all women is that if you are a single woman, aged 55 years and older, on a fixed income or in a low-paid job and living in private rental, then you are at risk of homelessness. Our early intervention program has been developed over a number of years with culturally diverse communities, and we know it works. And so one of the things that we do at HAAG is that once people are housed happily and safely, we encourage them to come back in to join the organisation as members so that they can then advocate for systemic change. They can use their experiences of homelessness to inform our media and our political advocacy and to raise awareness of the issues that face older women and then influence decision makers. So what we're asking of the Melbourne Women's Fund is to assist us to develop this into a formal peer education program. We've already identified 4 women, all former clients, who formed themselves into a peer education group almost organically with a bit of support from our early intervention worker. We've then provided 2 of them with training on public speaking and given them some training on how to give talks to groups of women. They've featured in different media stories, participated in research, and they've spoken on panels. We would like to formalise this into a program at HAAG to develop our workshop material into structured training, to improve our volunteer management and to scale up our community education so that we can not only engage more older women who have experienced homelessness in order to power them as individuals, but also to reach more older women in the community who may be at risk. Thank you.